All right, today we're going to talk about the production possibilities frontier. And this is a concept that could be used both in macroeconomics as well as microeconomics. So let's get started. Okay, what is the production possibilities frontier, or sometimes referred to as the PPF? Well, in economics, economics is often referred to as a black science or a dismal science because you often are dealing with scarcity. Um, you resources might be scarce, and so you have to decide how to allocate those scarce resources. And the production possibilities frontier is to try to show you or illustrate the maximum amount. Um, you're basically the most that you could produce. Now, often we look at this from a macroeconomic standpoint. So I'm going to go ahead and write here. Let's see. So from a macroeconomics, we use the PPF for a nationwide economy. So it could be economy-wide. So this would be like looking at the entire U.S. economy. Well, what is the production possibilities frontier for the whole economy if we are using our resources to the best of our abilities? Other ways you could look at this is from a microeconomics standpoint. And microeconomics, we could look at this from either like a firm level, such as a company level. So, for example, if you have a company that produces 2 or more products, the company might decide to have to figure out how to allocate how we can produce the most products um, and try to meet our maximum efficiency. Another way you could look at this is also households or individuals. How do we maximize our choice, our what our resources are? Let's see, individual. I can't spell today. How would we maximize our what our resources are? How much money we're bringing in? What resources we have, and how we can try to maximize those to produce the best outcome for our household. All right, so when dealing with production possibilities frontier, we're looking at opportunity cost. This is the cost of giving up one good to produce more of the other. So there's trade-offs. You you can't, from the PPF point of view, you can't have everything, so you have to maybe give up something to get something. Efficiency points on the curve represent maximum efficiency, and I'll explain that more in just a moment. Inefficiency points inside the curve show underused resources. Many times maybe a country or a company or even an individual household may have resources, but they're not using them productively, or maybe not even using them at all. So there might be inefficiencies. And then unattainability. These would be points outside the curve and are currently impossible to produce with existing resources. So let me just illustrate here graphically. This is basically our production possibilities curve. This represents, say on a national level, the maximum amount that we could produce. So everything inside the curve, let's see, PPF, everything inside the curve, and I'm going to change colors here, is stuff that the entire country or the entire company, firm, can produce. And this red line here is the frontier. So if, let's say, you are a company and you are producing anywhere on this line at any point, then you are maximizing your efficiency. Okay, so efficiency, the points on the curve represent the most that you can produce. Anything inside the line, so for example, if I'm producing here, then that's suggesting that I am not using my resources efficiently and I'm underutilizing them. So there's inefficiencies. Any point outside the line, let's say here, that is unattainable. In other words, you don't have the resources to achieve that level of efficiency. Let's go to the next slide. And another example of the PPF is when there's changes in the economy. So, for example, if there's an increase in economic growth, this would suggest an outward shift of the PPF, which can be an increase in resources. It could be increase in labor. It could be, more natural resources or technological advancements. Quite the opposite is a recession. So a recession is an inward shift of the PPF, and it can represent a decrease in productive capacity due to factors like natural disasters or economic downturns. So we'll use our production possibilities curve again. Let's get the And so this is our PPF. And let's say we have a new technology that's helping us to become all more efficient. Well, that would imply an increase in the PPF. So this would be an increase in possibilities. It pushes it outward, and we're on a new, we've achieved a new frontier. Quite the opposite if there is, like I said, a recession or a contraction in the economy, you have less money, less resources available to you for any reason, then that production possibilities curve is going to retract or decrease. And so you are not able to achieve the frontier that you were once on. And so this would be your new maximum. Okay, let's go to the next slide and we're going to do an example. All right, so here we have the production possibilities frontier. And this is something you probably have heard in many economics classes or in your economics textbooks. It's a fairly basic example. You have an economy, and you have, here we have a choice. We can either produce guns or we can produce butter. Okay, guns would be for the military, butter would be for mass consumption. So let us create our production possibilities frontier. That's in this economy, we can only create these two products, no other products. And so for the for the guns, we're going to put it on the y-axis, and for butter, we're going to put it on the put guns on the x-axis and butter on the y-axis. All right, so for guns, if we are looking at the guns, we can produce 0 guns, or we could, and if we produce 0 guns, we could produce 100 units of butter. So that's going to be our first point. Second point, we could produce 20 guns and 90 units of butter. So that's going to be our next point. Let me go ahead and label these. So this is going to be 100, 90. I'm not going to put all the numbers, 50 and 0 and 100, 50, put 75 there and 25. All right, for our next point on the line, it's going to be 40 guns. All right, so that's going to be along here, and it's going to be about 70 units of butter. So we're going to be a point right around there. The next one is 60 guns and about 40 units of butter. So it's going to be approximately right there. And then finally, we have 80 guns. I'm going to put it right there, and it's going to be 0 butter. So we put these together, we have our production possibilities curve. Okay, so with this curve, we can make all butter, or we can make all guns, or we can have any combination along this line. And as I said before, if we are producing at some point under the line, we are not using our resources efficiently. And as far as any point above the line, it's not possible with the resources that we have at this point. All right, well, thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more economic lectures. If you liked it, please put a like and subscribe. Thank you.